All right, welcome in. Let's get our other Facebook group people in here. They look like they're all working now, so that's good. Scott blow on his coffee. There we go. 1 and 2. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It is Thursday morning, May 18th, 2023, 7:37 a.m., and it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, in these morning shows, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how are things doing out in Atlanta?
We're doing good. We start talking starting lineups. I'm starting to get ready for some football.
It's about that time, right? We'll have a lot of projections, prognostications, and philosophical talks, and we can really stretch our legs this time of year. Keep it a little short. As always, like to say, welcome to people in the chat. If you have any comments that you guys want us to get into, feel free to add to the conversation. Given it is the off season, the content is always a little bit thinner, but that's okay. We appreciate that. And we got Jeremy Sean kicking us off with the talking point here. Good morning to you, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. And he says, I'm going to make a bold prediction. If healthy, Patrick Surtain II will be the Broncos starter for the season. Man, that's
calling his shot. He's coming out and he's pointing to the rafters. Jeremy Sean is calling his shot. Surtain as a starter, look out. I'm going to write that one down. I am. I'm going to write it down, and we'll see how that goes.
Going to hold you accountable to that one without a doubt, Jeremy. Yeah, I mean, I guess we were just talking about it before the show started there, Scott, but the annual list from PFF of the top 25 players under 25 years old. Last year, I think the Broncos had 2 players on the list with Patrick Surtain and Javonte Williams. Now it's just Patrick Surtain, obviously. So Jeremy calls out the Broncos
top 10. I was a little surprised to see Jonathan Taylor still on there right now.
Yeah.
He fell off a little bit, and I'm still actually a little surprised that he's still under 25 years old.
Yeah.
Seems like he's getting some tread on the tire, faced injuries for the first time. So an interesting list for sure. Pat Surtain up to number 9, I think. Isn't that where he was drafted?
I think he was 7 on the list. He was drafted 9, but I think he was 7 on the list. I think
he was 7 on the list.
Yeah,
7. You're right.
So I just looked at it. So yeah,
I mean, I already forgot.
7 sticks out in Broncos country. That's a number you don't forget. So that's one that stands out. But yeah, good morning to you, Jeremy. Good to see you. We got our guy Ethan coming in saying good morning, gents in Broncos country. Bama X is in the house. Good morning, Broncos country. Bama, how are your Tide going to look this year? Curious to see how Georgia seems to be the team there. We saw David Pollock, kind of throw some shade at the halftime of the championship. So, Georgia has arrived. They're the team now, right in Saban's face. So I'm curious to see what Alabama looks like this year to respond.
Hey, you win back to back. You can say that. That's legit. One happens thing. We had some injuries and it wasn't our year. Something that but you go back to back. Yeah. You're the team right now. I don't think there's a whole lot to question about that. Now, I wouldn't ever sleep on the Alabama Crimson Tide. If Georgia's the team, then their number one competition is going to be Alabama. So 1 and 2 is one of those. I feel like it's been one of those two guys for a while now that Clemson has kind of eased back just a little bit the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'd throw Ohio State in that same tier just for the consistency there.
Yeah, but, I mean the next tier below Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so in with Clemson and then it's Ohio State. We're not. This isn't a college football show, but yes, Ohio State. But it's it's Georgia 1A, Alabama 2, and then there's a big argument for who comes next.
Yeah,
for now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the future odds are for this year because it feels like you have so much turnover. Georgia lost so many people. Alabama lost Bryce Young and a lot of people. Ohio State lost their quarterback. Yeah, but they lost a lot of the big Clemson after they lost that big class of the guys and Trevor Lawrence. They've taken a step back, so they reload.
Clemson doesn't recruit the way Alabama and Georgia do. They don't have the base. Georgia has got. I used to say that the 3 biggest natural recruiting advantages in all of football, college football, were LSU, Georgia, and Ohio State. Just because of the amount of talent that is close to you without having to really fight off in-state schools as much. Ohio State's got their pick of 150 kids in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Louisiana, Katrina changed things a little bit, but LSU still should have their pick of guys in a very talent-rich area. And then Georgia, they're up to almost 200. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but they're probably, now they've added a couple D1 schools, they're probably over 200 Division I signees. Georgia's going to get who they want. Mm-hmm. Compare that to Iowa. How many kids are coming out of Iowa? 9, 10?
And Alabama takes the best one that's ever come out of the
But
state.
that's my point, you know. So, you know, in Clemson, you know, they were doing 40 or 50 in South Carolina, and they had to fight South Carolina. Now they've been ahead of South Carolina, but South Carolina could pluck a guy off here or there, and it's still a competitive program. So Clemson's not going to be able to reload the way that Alabama and Georgia can.
Yeah. Any dark horse title contenders, Scott? I know you don't follow the college recruiting cycle that much this year,
No.
but anybody? No? Okay. I mean, Lincoln Riley with USC definitely is the one that they were close last year, right? And Caleb Williams, junior year this year, and second year under Lincoln Riley. Their defense is just atrocious. Who's their defensive coordinator? Alex Grinch. Not good, but Caleb Williams is pretty damn special. And I mean, I feel like Florida State has kind of started to turn it around as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Florida State start to get a foothold again. But that's probably enough college football talk for now. We appreciate that,
where's
Bam
Ernie
X.
to get us back on point?
Broncos only. Well, we're talking about maybe future Broncos there, Ernie. Come on. Kevin Gray, Morning Broncos Country. Nick and Scott, a big mile high salute. Good to see you, Kevin. Hope you're doing well. Got our guy, Zach Powers. Morning. Good to see you, Zach. Hope you're doing well. Dave Glassman in the house with the hearts. Good to see you, Dave. Hope you've been having a good week. Dom Harmio out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I think. Hope you're doing well, Dom. Says, good evening, Nick and Scott on Broncos Country. Denver Broncos for life. Good to see you. And said, hey, fellas, did you see the Broncos Ted Lasso tweet? Yes, I did. Jamie Tart, I think it was Jamie Tart sitting in the basement watching the Broncos. Or I think it was Jamie Tart. I couldn't tell exactly because it was a cartoon. But yeah, I know it was good. Good show last night. I really hope that this isn't the final season. I know they wrote it to be 3 seasons, but like it feels like there's still so much meat on the bone and character development that could happen that I do hope that they continue to write it. But I guess it's better to end it while people still want it than end it
Go on a couple seasons too long. They could do spin-off characters on this, for God's sakes. You know, you could do all kinds of different things. I mean, I'd follow Roy.
Oh God.
You know, I'm more interested in Nate these days. You know, but he's still he's a Kramer. You know, I don't know how much Seinfeld you were, but too much of Kramer is too much. But you know, there's all kinds of stories in there, and it was good show. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I really love Rebecca and Keeley. God, they're incredible. Their storylines have been really fun as well this season. A lot of growth. But yeah, that's enough. This is the Ted Lasso podcast. Everyone, welcome in. I'm sure there's already a great one out there. Michael Ronquillo, good to see you. Facebook says, good morning, Nick and Scott and Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos and Buckham. Adenel Amos coming in here. Let me know if I mispronounced that. I'm sorry, Aid. I'll tell you, Addy. Good to see you. Good day, everyone. Stephen Baumgartner. It's been a second, Stephen. Hope you're doing well. Adenle? I like that. I will go with Adenle.
We're Nick and Scott, so we apologize.
Yeah, we were just way too generic boilerplate. You could call me a basic bro. No doubt about it. I would not be offended. DJ Capo coming in. Good morning, everyone. We got Facebook user. I don't know why this Facebook site does that, but hello to you, Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but hopefully you know who you are. Good morning. Mark Schrader, good morning. Beautiful day here. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Unfortunately, we have, it's a loft, but out here in Seattle, we just got hit with the smoke from Alberta, which is a major bummer. I hear that like Montana is like being choked out right now. It's mid-May, and we're already dealing with massive West Divide forest fires. So, and it's an El Nino summer, so I'm pretty damn worried about the forest fire and the smoke season coming out here, but we'll see. Troy Bauer coming in here saying, good morning, guys. I hope Stearns can win the job. Talking Caden Stearns, third-year safety from the University of Texas on the Broncos. And I hope center is not on the roster now. He hopes the center is not on the roster now. So getting us back on track. I think Troy's found us somewhat relatively recent. It's been about a month now, and he's been coming in steadily, really supporting the show. So thank you so much, Troy, for the $4.99. You've been just a constant help and supporter of the show, and really do appreciate that. And not just the financial stuff, but good comments as well. So shout out to Troy. Appreciate you. And yeah, what do you think about this? Getting us on track here, talking about Caden Stearns first off.
I don't know if I'm one of the first, but I'm definitely one that has said, let's pump the brakes on Caden Stearns a little bit. He gets written in as a plus starter when he's only got 5 starts in his career and 2 years has battled injury. He's very, very inexperienced. So for us to just pencil him in and assume that he's an upgrade on what you've seen is dangerous. Kareem Jackson is meh. You know, how do you react to this signing? Meh. He wasn't all that great last year. He's not going to be any better this year. He's just reaching that age where you're just hoping to hang on and enjoy the game. And God bless him. Play as long as you can, because when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
But the second safety position is a concern for me. Because right now PFF has Caden Stearns written in as their starter. I'd put Kareem Jackson in there until I see it, Nick. Until I see it. Kareem Jackson started every game he was healthy. Kareem Jackson's a starter until I see otherwise.
I think he played the most snaps of anybody on the team last year.
There you go.
Well,
so what's the best ability?
Availability. I mean, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. So, yeah, Caden Stearns, really talented. Again, there's been talk that this defensive staff is a big fan of him, Vance Joseph, and obviously you have a Christian Parker back for another season. But it's I don't think it's I'm not writing either of those guys in yet, because I want to see what they look like in camp, and I want to see Stearns stay healthy. I think they want Stearns to start. Obviously, third-year player, ascending talent. That's why a lot of Broncos fans are excited about him as well.
Right. It's the hope. It's the talk. It's like, I know what I'm going to get with Kareem Jackson. I've seen the best I'm going to get out of Kareem Jackson. We're not even talking about, if he learns a new system. No, I mean, we expect Russell Wilson to improve dramatically in a second year.
Yeah.
No one expects Kareem Jackson to get any better. It just defies logic. And his best was just okay. Well, Caden Stearns, his best when he played was pretty good, Nick. It's just as you like to say, it's a small sample size. So get him out there. The second part of this, Troy, and again, thank you for the support. I hope the center is not on the roster now. You asked me, and thanks for asking, Nick. Yes, Lloyd Cushenberry is a starter on this team. Who's going to beat him out? If someone else is a starter for this team, barring injuries, then it's somebody that they acquire. I just don't see them starting a 7th-round rookie over Lloyd Cushenberry, and Kyle Fuller hasn't played in the NFL.
Yeah. I know that Eric has mentioned many times that they like Kyle Fuller, but
for what?
Liking somebody,
him for what?
Some
familiarity. Hasn't been a starter in this league.
Yeah. I agree with you. And also the thing about center is that there's so much knowledge in the offensive system, the blocking scheme, that it's pretty hard to find a center, right before the season starts and plug him in and feel comfortable with that. So I think it's probably Lloyd Cushenberry. We said it from the beginning. Broncos offensive line sounds like they want to do an overhaul. It's going to be pretty damn hard to overhaul the complete unit in one season. Definitely made some progress, or at least massive investments to improve that unit. But center's still there. They still have 1 year of cost control with Lloyd Cushenberry. I think that's the one that they're going to have to worry about, and you might just have to roll with it this season. It's not going to be a perfect offense. Broncos had limited resources coming into the season to fix everything with as many holes as they had. So center is one that you're hoping improves, but if not, it's just a 1 year sample. I guess Broncos country, we can be happy, because for years it was right tackle, right tackle, right tackle, right tackle. We hope that Mike McGlinchey's an answer there. The last time the Broncos made a big investment at right tackle, it really sucked really bad.
If he's not the answer, that's going to be a problem.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But anyway, we're hoping that that's good. You made an investment there. The center is now the whipping guy on the the one that Broncos country is upset about and focused on. And I get it, but again, it's a 1 year. We just got to get over the hump for the 1 year and see what happens here. I think on this one we're settling at center. Unfortunately, I think. Mark Schrader, $5. Big comment here. Off topic, I don't care, but celebrate. 8 months past open heart surgery this morning, ran a 5K on a treadmill in 25 minutes. God bless you, Mark. Congrats, man. Staying healthy and getting that ticker going.
Yeah, what's that, about 10-minute miles after open heart surgery within the same year? Dude, that's impressive. Congratulations. And I like to say, one of the things about getting older is time goes by so fast. So if you can just get into a habit of doing something every day, you blink twice. I'm going to do 25 sit-ups a day. Yeah. You blink twice, it's been 3 months. Now I want to do 50 sit-ups a day. So Mark, it seems like this just happened, Mark, and it's been almost a year. That's incredible. And the work that you put in, look how far you've come in what seems like such a short time to us. Doing 5Ks in under 30 minutes after open heart surgery. That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. Yeah, he says 8-minute miles. Yeah, that's what I was doing the conversions in my head, and I was like, just trying to. Yes, that's incredible. That's awesome, and it's an inspiration. And congratulations.
That is amazing. Shout out to you and your wife out there in Texas. Hope you're, not hope. I know you're doing well. That's pretty damn incredible. So shout out to you, Mark. Got our guy Lawrence Rivera coming with the stars saying, "What's up, guys? Congrats, Mark. You're kicking ass." I'm gonna say it on there because it deserves it. I don't know if we're gonna
Yeah,
get
I
flagged
know
for
you
that.
got to see some of the Mark. I know you got to see some of the YouTube comments. So I wanted to flash Lawrence also because you don't get to see the crossover like we do in the chat. So Lawrence coming in over on Facebook, who got to see your post live, commenting also. So congratulations.
Yeah, we also got Gary Palmer coming in saying good morning, Nick and Scott, and congrats to Mark. So thank you, Gary. Congrats, Mark, man. That's incredible. 8 months too. It feels like that just happened, like Scott was saying. So time really does fly. In the words of the poet of my generation, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. So appreciate that, Gary, and hope you're doing well, Gary, as well. We got Donald Willison coming in here saying good morning, Nick and Scott. Good to see you. Flying Anger Pig saying good morning. Dom saying, Nick, don't talk about smack about the Bulldogs. I just think there's a little bit more of an opening this season. Kevin Sproul coming in saying, watch out for the Longhorns. I feel like we say that every year, and it's kind of like the Broncos. For me, it's kind of like the Broncos beating the Chiefs. I'll believe the Longhorns when I see the Longhorns. Also, I know Scott and I are not the biggest fans of their head coach.
Sarkisian coached my kids' team, I'd root against him. That's how much I think that guy's an unlikable human being.
Yeah. Scott really does not like Sarkisian, but there's reason. It'd be good if Texas was good for football. I don't love that they're joining the SEC, but Texas is going to be good. And also they have Arch Manning, right? So I am pulling for Arch Manning just because I'm a huge fan of the Mannings. Rob Bucksbaum.
I think Nick's right. You lose a back-to-back national champion starting quarterback. You lose, all that stuff on defense. Georgia's in a better position to reload, but they're certainly not as good as they've been the last 2 seasons. You would think that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. And you mentioned LSU earlier.
Tennessee's coming back.
I think LSU under Brian Kelly, and I sent you that tweet yesterday, but the best defensive prospect in football right now is probably Harold Perkins, and he's still a year out, but oh my God, unbelievable.
Yeah,
God.
I think as the money starts coming to these guys, one, I don't mind them staying in college or making a ton of money. That's fine. But I feel like the collusion will change a little bit. They'll be less apt to partner up and say, why are we making these guys sit 3 years now? Come on out. You're ready. But that's a different conversation as well.
Yeah. But Harold Perkins, keep an eye out for him at LSU. He's a linebacker, a little small, but Jesus, he is unbelievable. Rob Bucksbaum saying, good morning, Nick and Deacon Scott from Nashville. Always the best MHH team. Oh, Rob, you're going to make us blush. Thank you. If we were to sign a running back, when would it be? Likely post June 1st. Seems like they're waiting a little bit. I mean, the longer they can drag it out and guys are not signed, the more information we're going to have about Javonte Williams. So they're probably waiting to see also what the Cook market is as well. And I don't think there's a rush. I mean, Zeke is still out there. Hunt is still out there. There's some veterans that you can offer a cheap contract. And also, it's not just the Broncos waiting. It's probably these veteran running backs waiting as well. At some point, they're like, okay, it's not coming. So we might as well just sit back and either sit the year out or take the contract.
And there will be post June 1. When you say post June 1, Rob, there could be some releases after post June 1 for salary cap reasons. So those happen all the time. Those happen all the way up until actually they still happen during the season sometimes. Remember Stephon Gilmore a couple of years ago was released like week 4 and then signed on with the Carolina Panthers right away and has had a couple pretty good years since then. So there's a lot of good talk about Javonte Williams, and we will continue to say just temper your expectations for Javonte Williams. It would be a miracle to see him at 90% on September 1st. It would be a miracle to see him at 100% by the end of the season, which would be roughly 15 months after surgery. So we're all hoping for it, but yes, there's no rush right now to get guys in, and the veterans are in no rush. A lot of them, think of Melvin Gordon last year. They're not all Melvin Gordon, but a lot of them are like, I'm a running back. I don't need to be at camp until fall camp, until August.
Yeah. We'll see. Miracle. I mean, God, it would be unbelievable. Typically it's 18 months for that level of injury for the knee. So
especially for that type of player, it's a little bit different with Javonte Williams because he is a power back, but he still has that quick twitch in there. So, for a cornerback or, a true quick twitch guy that relies on his change of direction, even an ACL is a full 18 months. And I know
Yeah.
we talk about, modern medicine and it can come back quickly. It can be stable enough to be ready that you're back on the field in 8 months. But by the time you fully rehabilitate and the atrophy around the muscles that you haven't been able to work out, like I said, hamstrings follow knees constantly. So sometimes the setback isn't necessarily in the knee. It's like, oh, we got him back out there. Well, he just tweaked a hamstring. Calf just went. So it's a long road.
Yeah, without a doubt. Jay Roper coming in, curly hair gang. Hope you're doing well. Drew Sanders ceiling, Clay Matthews. I guess I think Matthews mostly played edge towards the end of his career. I don't know if I see Sanders doing that. I don't think he's got the same level length profile off the top of my head. Sanders is tall, but I don't think he was the lengthiest player. Clay Matthews
How much
had
does
a
he
little
weigh?
bit.
How much does he? Because Clay Matthews was big.
Yeah. Clay Matthews, 240 at the combine, but I don't know if he came out longer than that. I mean, Clay Matthews with the 10-yard split of 149.
And he was 260 pounds.
When he came, okay, mock draft will had him at 240, but I'm sure he bulked up in the NFL.
Yeah, but he played at his last playing weight was listed 255, which 250 to 260.
Yeah.
4.58 shuttle, but like you said, the 4.18 shuttle, the 6.9 three cone. You'd like to think the ceiling would be there, but what are the odds he reaches the ceiling? So that'd be nice. That'd be a good target. But
yeah,
Clay Matthews was pretty special, and I guess he really matured in college because he went in. I covered USC. Some of y'all have heard me talk about this before. We were between writers at Scout at the time, so I was living in LA. I covered USC's first month of fall camp when Ray Maluga and Brian Cushing were the two guys out there, and they're running a 4.3. I was like, and one of the guys that was a writer for another site was Clay Matthews' younger brother, Brian Matthews. And I went up to him. I said, Brian, Clay's every bit as good as these guys, and he wasn't getting any of the hype yet. He did that year. He showed up and became that guy. So that'd be nice, but Clay Matthews was pretty special.
Yeah, he really good player. I mean, there's a reason he had all the publicity, granted, on an Aaron Rodgers team. But the guy who sticks out for me for Drew Sanders that I see him as a player, second level pressure player, Demario Davis, and it makes sense because comparing him to the Saints, right? The Sean Payton team, even though Sean Payton's on offense, I see them looking for a pressure player. But Demario Davis has probably been one of the most underrated defensive players over the last decade at linebacker, and his just pressures numbers from the linebacker spot. He's had 2013, 19 pressures, 2014, 16, 2015, 26, 2017, 28, 2018, 21, 2019, 30, 2020, 26 pressures. I mean, he's been a pressure player from that linebacker spot. He's still, coverage, run fits, et cetera, but the ability to get back there from that second level and create pressure, that's the one that I see as the best case scenario for Sanders.
I think what you would hope for this year is what the Saints got from Caden Ellis last year. I think he started 11 games and had 7 sacks. So, coming up the middle. So that would be a guy, if you're interested in checking out who's a decent comp for Drew Sanders, just do a Google search on Caden with a K, Ellis, which is actually double L, double S. So check out Caden Ellis, and that's just do a quick Google search on him. Free agent from the Saints, signed with the Atlanta Falcons, will be playing inside, but is playing inside in order to rush inside to be a pressure player from coming up the middle.
Yep. Philip Hagginson out there talking about Montana. Hopefully you're not getting choked out by that Alberta wildfire smoke. And Lawrence Rivera saying he thinks Javonte Williams is going to get cut. I would be shocked if Javonte Williams gets cut. They have 2 years of control left. If anything, he ends up on IR and they try it again next season. They don't get any sort of cap savings from moving on from him. It's not like they need the roster spot when they could put him on the injury list just to create that spot as well. I don't think that's feasible at all.
Yeah, I appreciate the stars, Lawrence, and to see him not on the active roster is definitely possible. So he would go PUP, physically unable to perform list, before he would get cut. But to your point, he probably wouldn't be on the active 53. I think would be a prediction, just the nuances of cut versus inactive type of thing, I think is what you're going for on this one.
Yeah. Trey Bauer coming in again. Are the rookies more likely to be starting the end of the year because of injury or because they earn it? I think that it's probably a combination of both because they still have to beat. There's other competition to beat. I mean, Marvin Mims has to beat out KJ Hamler, or show that he can beat out KJ Hamler. If KJ Hamler looks better and is healthy, then, who knows? with that one. With Drew Sanders, probably injury, but if he's out there, being a lot better player than Alex Singleton, then he could be him. Riley Moss, I think, has the clearest path to starting because he only has to beat out one guy who's not a very proven guy, even though I am a big Damari Mathis fan. But it's probably it's hard to say. I think it could be a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, and you can talk about that. Would an injury open him up? Yes. Who are we talking about that could come in and play right away? Marvin Mims. When we talk about starters, I don't think he's going to be in a 2 wide receiver standard 11 base set, but if you're running out there in packages and you look, okay, who's number 1 in various packages in a 4 wide receiver set? Is he listed there? Then you're a number 1 receiver then, or you're part of the number 1s in this package. So Marvin Mims has a chance to get to be involved in a lot of number 1 packages. Riley Moss should be one of your top 4 defensive backs, should be one of your top 4 corners right away. So you got K1, you've got Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, and Damari Mathis. If you're running a 4 cornerback set for some reason out there, you're running a dime set with 2 safeties, he's in. So yes, while you might not say listed as starters is always listed in a base package, but base, how often do you play base, Nick? 3rd, maybe?
Yeah.
And then it's sub packages. So you could be a starter in these different packages pretty soon without having to, having the term being labeled as a starter. If you're a number 1 in a base package, you're a starter, in my opinion, Nick.
Snap count. It'll come down to that's what's the indicator here. I don't care who gets to say their name at the beginning of Sunday Night Football or whatever. It's snaps at the end of the day. Ben Bunt's coming in saying, live in Austin. Ewers apparently is looking great. Arch Manning's true freshman would have bet against him. Broncos country should definitely keep an eye on the name Ewers. Quarterbacks next year, everybody knows Drake May. Everybody knows Caleb Williams. But, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Quinn Ewers, J.J. McCarthy, those are some names to keep an eye on for some other guys because if Russell Wilson struggles this year, we're going to be talking a lot of quarterbacks on this show specifically because I'm looking for him. But Scott, I think we should probably start to talk a little bit about our topic today with the last, 10, 15 minutes of the show. PFF put out a projection
on it.
Yeah, we've hit on it some, but I did want to go over some of the comments here, or at least what they actually put on, because there are some question marks here. The PFF put out each team's starting roster. Now they've listed 12 players, so it's not 11, it's 12 men on the field here. Yeah, so they kind of get one in. I mean, I wonder why 12 was the line rather than like 14, right? You could fit in, if you're talking sub packages, maybe add in a couple more here or there, but especially on defense. But I digress. On offense, just listening to the guys who they have starting here, they got quarterback Russell Wilson, 2 running backs listed here, Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine. Wide receiver, they have 3. It's Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler listed as the 3rd wide receiver. At tight end, they list Greg Dulcich. And the offensive line is, as expected, Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Lloyd Cushenberry, Quinn Miners, and Mike McGlinchey. So off the bat, just the one that stands out here for me is that they have KJ Hamler listed not only above Marvin Mims, but above Tim Patrick as well. I know Tim Patrick's coming back from an injury, but that happened in July last year, if I'm not mistaken. And it was the more easily to come back for historical precedent knee injury. We haven't been talking about him because it sounds like he's like right on track to be okay this season. So it's got to be Patrick there as the 3rd wide receiver for me.
Yeah, and if it's not, it's probably Mims. I don't have any faith in Hamler getting out there, and I would love to be able to check this out. Say, okay, May 18th, 30 minutes into the show, we're talking about KJ Hamler not really going to be able to be a contributor to this team, and eating those words. Would love it. Would absolutely love for him to prove me wrong on that one. Not that he really cares what I have to say, but you look back and he has had a lot of trouble contributing to this team in 3 years. At some point, his time's going to be up. Is it this season? If KJ Hamler had an 800-yard season last year and played 16 games, I don't think you trade up for Marvin Mims. Forget Patrick and Jeudy and Sutton. To me, this was a Hamler move as much as anything. One of the things that stands out to me, Nick, was I won't even say it crying wolf, but because it's legit, but it's ringing the alarm bell on that defensive line. You've got 12 players here and you still only have 2 interior linemen on the defensive side of the ball. And one of them, Zach Allen.
Who's edge / interior.
You're basically on, I put the link in the chat. You've got 5 DL / edge, and really it's 4 edge and a defensive end and 1 interior lineman.
Yep.
You know, so you've called it out before, and I still think Purcell fits in here in some of these packages. But when you're talking DL Zach Allen, DL DJ Jones, and then edge, Randy Gregory, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper. Well, Jonathan Cooper is not a starter. And if I have to run out 4 defensive linemen with Baron Browning, Randy Gregory, and I have to slide Zach Allen inside with DJ Jones, oh my God, am I light up front?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I'm very concerned about the depth of the defensive line this season, and Pro Football Focus is also concerned that they say the Broncos' biggest weakness in 2023 is the pass rush and the defensive line. They say the Broncos put up the 6th worst pass rush grade in the NFL, did very little, if anything, to improve this offseason. Only pass rusher to post a 70-plus grade in returning was Randy Gregory, who notched a 76.2, but just on 114 snaps, can't seem to stay healthy. Zach Allen was added, but there isn't a whole lot to be excited about with this unit. So the Broncos' defensive line is majorly concerning right now, and it's one that probably as the season goes on, Scott, we're going to always have to have the caveat conversation of, well, the Broncos need to add a defensive line, but you can't say that without talking about quarterback first. But I am leaning pretty heavily right now towards defensive line, whether it be edge or even defensive tackle, as a position the Broncos could invest in pretty heavily this season.
Yeah, and just you can find guys that can play. And one of the reasons we talk about, at least for depth reasons, I can go find me a 330-pound guy that is on somebody's practice squad that I can come in and do a job. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons we don't talk about the quarterback as much, and some people come and go from this podcast, and they'll jump and say, "Well, how come you're not talking about the quarterback?" Because you can't really do anything about the quarterback this year. It's you've got what you've got. Now, I can go out and find a 4th and 5th and a 6th defensive lineman up there to try and still add to this team over the course of the next several months. You're not going to come in. It's Russell Wilson and Jarrett Stidham, Ben DiNucci. But, is Ben DiNucci the answer? Okay, if Russ struggles, Ben DiNucci is going to take us to the playoffs? No, if Russ struggles, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. I can get some upgrades on the defensive line off of the shelf, going through practice squads, see who's getting cut, salary cap casualties over the summer. And I would be scouring for 300-pound plus guys. And I'm sure that they are in Denver.
Yeah. And the edge group is so weird because you have a lot of bodies in there, but ones that you can depend on are actual difference makers. I mean, hard to say. I mean, Randy Gregory, when he's healthy, again, they mentioned it, but he looks like a lottery pick when he's healthy out there, like an alien, like the athleticism, the bend, the burst that he has. I mean, it's the flashes. If you just put together his top 10 plays last season and be like, oh my God, this guy is unbelievable, but can't stay out there. Been a big issue. Baron Browning, still a projection. I wish that if you had another great edge rusher in there and made Browning your 3, and I know Carl kind of convinced me on this one. I came around on, especially after Jacob Martin released, you bring in Melvin Ingram or a Frank Clark, if they are okay with the background and the history, and you kick Jonathan Cooper off this list, you move Baron Browning down to that 3rd guy, makes a lot more sense in terms of the depth. So we'll see. The Broncos really need to add some defensive line talent. It does concern me greatly this season. Miguel Santa-Stevens saying Jacobs might tear up that defense again. He might. Broncos defensive line right now don't feel like anybody's talking about it really besides us. I guess I don't really listen to other people talk about the team that much because I don't want to be outside influenced. Want these takes to be organic, but certified organic. But yeah, we not to get into the USA food processing FDA stuff. But anyway, yeah, let's keep it going. Other guys on the offensive side that kind of surprised me: Javonte Williams being listed as starter right now. I mean, if you put in Samaje Perine and then Tony Jones or whatever the heck is the other one, it looks concerning. But
they might not have had a grade on anybody else, Nick.
That's probably it. It's nobody's going to call this one out.
I put the link in the chat, and they've got the list, and they've got their PFF grade from the year before. Mm-hmm. They might not have had a grade on anybody else at running back.
Yeah. That's probably true, unfortunately. And Aki Dragon says the PFF grades are any indication it'll be another long season. That was from last year, so hopefully they'll be better this year in better situations. But yeah,
I mean, let's see.
Didn't grade well.
We if I told you who of the starters who was the lowest graded starter on offense, would you be surprised?
I'm looking for who it is.
Lloyd Cushenberry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
hey,
doesn't surprise you, right?
they actually got it right. I feel like years prior, it's like we're seeing Lloyd Cushenberry get his butt kicked, and it's like, why is his grade so high? I guess it's ESPN's pass block win rate that was the one that
So
really didn't make sense.
the lowest grade, and it was run blocking win rate for Dalton Reisner was the one. Oh, he's a mauler. He's a masher. Like, what?
Yeah.
Watch the games, please.
Yeah.
And the lowest graded defensive player of these 12 starters listed by far is Baron Browning.
Yeah, that was surprising to me.
So I feel okay about Baron Browning. Baron Browning he had some trouble. He's battled some injuries, and that was the thing when he was coming out. He got hurt in camp and tweaked the muscles. Like, oh, is this guy injury prone? I'm like, we hadn't missed any games at Ohio State. Why is he getting this label? Well, maybe he is having trouble staying healthy. Yeah. So, but you feel pretty good about Browning. If you look at that number, you go, eesh. But Browning can make some plays. Mm-hmm. Browning ends up being a full-time starter, gets his time in, and he's your worst player on defense. You're going to be all right. You'll be okay. I
think he's one, like I mentioned, you'd love it if he was your first guy off the bench out there. But he has a chance to be a starter right now. And he's got incredible athletic tools, great length. I mean, when you put him in mock draftable and move him to edge, one of his top comparisons from an athletic profile is Khalil Mack, just in terms of the overall athletic testing and size. But Ben Bunce comes in, says this is a make or break year for Browning. Same thing with Caden Stearns, man. Just got to stay healthy. Tools are out there, but last year he was like incredible. I think that Colts game, he had like 3 sacks or something, looked great. And then he suffered I think it was a hamstring injury. I cannot recall what it was. But after that, he just wasn't the same player.
That was a demonstration of the worst pass protection in any game from both sides I've ever seen.
It was bad.
It's third down, sack. Or knockdown. That was an atrocity. That game was so bad.
Al Michaels awful. Like apologizing to the watcher.
Oh, it was so awful. That level of football. I think I tweeted out after that the Broncos and NFL should be issuing apologies and refunds to their broadcast partners and their season ticket holders for that. Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know how much you live on Twitter, but definitely it was a sickos type of game with the sickos committee. They love the really ugly college football games that are just like so bad that they're good. That was a sickos game. They love their Maction as well, so for some sickos football. Richard Miles, hey guys, hope all is well with you and the rest of Broncos family. Dominic Martin's in the house. Morning, Broncos family. What's new? Pearl Heater saying, I just listened to you guys. You say it like it is. I mean, we say it how we perceive it. Doesn't mean we're always going to be right, but I don't think we're cheering for ourselves to be right. And I don't think we are concerned about hurting anybody's feelings either. And also, we're not overly fan driven. Scott's not a Bronco fan per se. He's here to analyze. And I've kind of I still pull for the Broncos, but when I sit in this chair, take off the fan goggles, take off the fan hats as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, there's a phrase people say, oh, he really tells it like it is. Well, no, he calls it like he sees it, but he's a moron. So I might be that guy. I'll be honest. I always say you're gonna get 2 things from me. You're gonna get a quick response and you're gonna get an honest response. If it's any good, we'll let time tell. But I always correct people when they say that. Oh, he really tells it like it is. No. He calls it like he sees it. Problem is he's a dumbass.
That's the title of the show. Morons who call it like they see it, or blind men who call it like they see it. Keeping on the offense here, KJ Hamler being listed as a starter, a little bit definitely surprising. He shouldn't be on there. Shouldn't be made the list. They didn't put in any rookies on this. I guess it's because I don't see a team like the Cowboys. They don't have any rookies in there either. Maybe they just didn't put in any rookies for these lists because they don't have the grades. But looking at it as well.
Go look up at Atlanta Falcons because they've got 2. So they got Bijan Robinson, and they put asterisks next to him as college grades.
Okay, there it is. Well, never mind. I was just looking
who would you put in as a starter? You wouldn't put anybody in as a starter for the Broncos right now.
I would put in Mims over KJ Hamler.
I would too, but I would have put Patrick in over KJ Hamler or Mims.
Yep, I agree. But yeah, they'd have to put double asterisk there for Tim Patrick's numbers being from 2 years ago. But I digress. The other one on here that I think they made the right call, but I don't know if he will end up being the starter is Greg Dulcich, just because it seems like this is a Broncos team that wants to run, and they need some running to do that. And Chronic coming in. Nick, are you a Seahawks fan now? Nick, don't let Seattle rub off on you. I was definitely pulling for the Kraken there, and if the Sonics ever come back, I will dip my toe in the Seattle Supersonic fandom as well. But I hate the
Here's
Seahawks.
my guess. Let me make a prediction based on human psychology. Familiarity breeds contempt. Okay, so being a Broncos fan up in Seattle right now would only make him dislike the Seahawks more over the last 12 months.
Yes. Yeah, without a doubt. I can't even wear Broncos stuff without people harassing me. Like, oh, thanks for the trade, idiots. Thanks for taking Russ and that kind of thing. So, not a fan of that. And Scott, you kind of froze up on me.
I scrolled up and looked at things, and then they've really been struggling on this with StreamYard lately. You can't look at another tab without it going into super slow-mo.
I haven't noticed it as much on my end, but I have other issues. So everybody has their own things. On the defensive side of the ball, I think you already hit on everything that I was going to talk about. The defensive line concerns, listing Jonathan Cooper as one of your starting best 5 players in the defensive front. Cooper's been solid, but I mean, God, that's not great. And the other one here,
Purcell, and putting him in there as one of those defensive linemen. You have to. You've got. I mean, Zach Allen's a nice. In what world is he a defensive tackle?
In 3rd and long.
Yeah, which, so again, it's hard. He's either an end or an edge. He's either, a little bit light as an end or a big edge, depending on, is he standing up or has he got his hand in the dirt? DJ Jones is undersized. I mean, he's not. Oh, man,
he's a plug. He's
really good, but he's still your penetrator. He's your quick guy, not your. Who's there that's going to take on the center and guard on running plays out of your starting 5 of Zach Allen, DJ Jones, Randy Gregory, Baron Browning, and Jonathan Cooper? You know who it is? It's Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell are going to have to come up and plug gaps and leave a ton of space behind you. Yes.
On play action.
It's concerning. It's concerning.
Yep. I knew eventually that if we talked about it enough, Scott, you'd be eyebrow raising too with the defensive line stuff because
for me, like I said, I think Purcell can do a job.
Yeah.
So I'm not as down, especially for what you're paying for him. He's what, $3 or $4 million. You were paying your punter and your kicker more than you were paying Purcell 2 years ago. Purcell can do a job. He needs to be as part of this list. I'm taking off Jonathan Cooper when I've got 12 and I'm plugging in Mike Purcell. Then I can at least go 3-4. And I can say Purcell in the middle, DJ Jones, and then Zach Allen as big ends with my 4 linebackers with 2 edges and 2 insides. Now I'm okay with it. Now I don't have any depth. The depth is scary, but at least I can go out there with a 3-4 knowing I have a chance to stop the run.
Yeah, without a doubt. I agree with you there on that. And also on this list, they list Cooper first. I'm hoping, I've been super critical of the pick and the play and the skill set and everything. But you're hoping by the end of next season that Nick Bonito has displaced Jonathan Cooper because he's a more toolsy player. He's got more burst, more bend, more flexibility, has to do the little things right on 1st and 2nd down to earn those opportunities. But you're hoping by the end of the season that it is listed there with, if they're going to list 3 edges, you hope that it's Cooper as the 3rd one. But got to earn that opportunity. And other than that, I don't see too much that is shocking on this list. We're going to harp on defensive line all season. It's going to be a frustration. I mean, it's going to make the defense hard to watch, I think, at some point this season if they don't add another player because you're going to just see them getting physically beat up on that side of the ball because of the lack of depth on that side. So it's concerning right now, no doubt.
Miguel has a good question. Says, fellas, if Darby hasn't signed yet, can you see him coming back as a safety net? I know it's hit or miss, and we drafted Moss. Just curious. So does Moss close the door on Darby? Do you have enough bodies there now that you're not going to bring him back $3-4 million?
Yeah, probably not. I'm probably looking elsewhere unless there's I feel like that position, I want to see what Mathis Moss and even, some dark horses like Art Green and Jaquan McMillan look like outside in camp before I'm spending that level of money in that position when right now I think we talked about it a lot. Defensive line, edge, running back, offensive line depth. I mean, the second unit of the Broncos offensive line, if you trot those guys out there, that is like, preseason's going to be rough because when the starters are not out there, that offensive line
you haven't given me a good woof in a while.
I mean,
woof.
Yeah, it's the second unit of the offensive line is woof worthy. Unfortunately,
woof worthy. Hashtag woof worthy.
Not great, and that's going to make preseason rough to watch. Oh man, Jarrett Stidham looks terrible. Well, he's hitting his 3-step drop in his back foot, and he's got a guy in his lap.
It'll seem like the last 2 years playing quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Rob comes in. He says, come 2024, if and when K'Waun Williams moves on, could either Mathis or Moss play slot corner? The answer is yes. And K'Waun Williams is young and cheap. He needs to be re-signed. He may want to move on, and it might not be up to you, but double his money and lock him down for 3 more years. That would be my advice, Rob and Nick.
Yeah. Mathis and Moss could definitely move those spots. And Pearl Heater said, what are they going to do for another kicker? This is a big need. The way McManus's contract is set up is that you're going to have him this season. And if he struggles this year, they'll move on. So this is a make or break season.
Anything happened with him? You only carry one.
Yeah.
You might bounce a guy on and off the practice squad, but
yeah,
it's not overly hard to find kickers. You say that it's kind of like the old porn argument. How do you know when you got a good kicker? Well, I know it when I see it, but they're not. It's not hard to find a guy that can kick field goals in this league. Now, they're streaky and it can look terrible. As to Dallas Cowboy, I know, but like 90% is the low bar for kickers.
Yeah.
Zach Powers says, did Deshaun Williams sign somewhere? We could definitely bring him back. And he did. I loved him as a rotational second, first guy in the rotation, not necessarily a starter, but he did sign somewhere. I just don't know, remember where, Nick. For some reason, Washington springs to mind, but I don't think that's right.
No, he followed his year Evero to Carolina.
Okay,
good for them. Signed a decent contract with Carolina.
That's a good pickup for them.
Yep. I love that Carolina defense. I know it's supposed to be, not biased towards the Falcons, but like the makeup.
There isn't any. We're talking about it is, how good can Carolina be? As we'll see. I think Frank Reich's a good coach, and they've got some good pieces on defense. And when they showed up to play last year, they were dangerous. They were just so hit or miss. It's like they looked like world beaters one week, and then they couldn't be bothered the next.
Yeah, just with how they played down the stretch of that offensive line. And maybe it's the ghost of Cam Newton in there, but I probably would have taken Anthony Richardson just for that physical team. When they were the best, they were beating the crap out of teams up front. And I think that's a style to embrace. Like the Broncos have embraced. Talking about the defensive still, they list the biggest X factor as Russell Wilson, saying he's the biggest X factor in all of football. We'll be curious to see for Wilson this season, but I'm going to take a different angle on the biggest X factor. I think this team changes dramatically, and we've kind of hinted at already this show, but Javonte Williams, I mean, if he's out there and is ready for training camp, I kind of believe when I see it, but that's an unbelievable change for what this offense looks like this season. So I think he was the biggest loss last year as well. I mean, Russell Wilson is god awful versus 2 high safety shells. Well, guess what? Broncos saw a crazy number of 2 deep safety shells because they didn't respect the running game at all. They said, run the ball. I dare you. You guys suck at running the ball. Your offensive line can't block for it. Your wide receivers are soft. Your running backs are terrible. So Broncos saw a lot of 2 high safety shells, and Russell Wilson struggled against them because he struggles over the middle of the field, and he struggles with the quick game. So Javonte Williams being back and healthy, huge X factor for the entire structure of the offense.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say that Russell Williams is the biggest X factor on this. What's the biggest variable in how well you're going to do? So that one's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Who comes next? And Javonte Williams is one of those. I mean, the X factor for me is also how healthy can this team be?
Yeah, I think somebody said that.
We start talking a lot of these guys, and how many times do we say if healthy? Oh, well, KJ Hamler could be really good. He can't stay on the field. Caden Stearns, he hasn't been on the field. Randy Gregory, say it with me, everybody. He hasn't been on the field. Baron Browning, here we go. You mentioned the offensive line. Okay. So the health factor on this team is the biggest X factor. Can they at least revert? There you go, Michael. Can you at least revert back to average injuries across the NFL? That would be a big one for me. From a personnel standpoint, that's a tough one. I mean, I'll go Lloyd Cushenberry on that. He's more of a constant than an X factor because he has constantly been underperforming. One of the first quotes I remember when I started covering this team was, if I had played better last year, they wouldn't have drafted Miners. Miners was drafted to play center. And he moved to guard. It was too much for him early, and they needed to get their best 5 on the line. So Miners was moved to guard quickly. But they've been trying to replace Cushenberry for 2 years. They didn't try very hard this year, Nick. So if Cushenberry can work his way up to an average center instead of a bottom 5 center, that could do wonders for your offense.
Yeah. The other one here that I was going to give a shout out to for X Factor, we already talked a lot about it, but like when Randy Gregory's healthy, I really do think he's a 1A, or at least, a primary pass rusher on a defensive line, but he's not healthy. So that's the big X factor. How many snaps can you get of healthy Randy Gregory? Really pulling for him because, I mean, he's a joy to watch from the athletic ability. Last comment here from PFF that we wanted to get into. They say that the Broncos rookie to watch this season is Riley Moss, saying that they have question marks opposite Riley Moss. Damari Mathis a question mark, but they really touch on Riley Moss's ability to make plays on the football as a big reason to watch out for him this season. For the Broncos have been dreadful at creating turnovers. And the year that the Saints won the Super Bowl, their big difference on that team was their defense was incredible at taking the ball away that season, 2009. So if maybe I really liked Damari Mathis, my favorite pick last season. Really good to have options at cornerback, given how important that position is. But Riley Moss, they list as the player to watch on that from this rookie class. So I think he's the one that's got the clearest path to becoming a full-time starter. Probably not the one to the clearest path to the most snaps, which would be Marvin Mims. If we're not including special teams, then it might be Drew Sanders. But that's my thoughts.
One last thought on Cushenberry here is Ben comes in. He says, Scott Cushenberry's also been a constant on the field, and for this team, that means something. No, he hasn't. He last year got hurt midseason, week 8 or week 9, wherever the bye was replaced by Graham Glasgow and didn't get his job back, despite the fact that Graham Glasgow was no world beater.
Yeah, but
he was still performing better than Cushenberry at the time. And Graham Glasgow has been moved on, and Cushenberry is back. It's a scary situation at center right now. Now, how much can you scheme around it, and how much improvement can you get? But I'm not going to write him in there as, oh yeah, he's going to be a lot better based on scheme this and that. No, show me, dude. You've had ample opportunity to play, and right now, my evaluation would be he's been as good as he's going to get, and it's not good enough.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Scott Sidejar, there we go. Woof. Let's wrap it on up here. Wanted to go 30 to 40 minutes today. We're at 52, so that's gonna have to do it unless we have a last minute super come in that keeps us on the hook for a little longer. But Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, great show today, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos and Buck 'em. Thank you so much, Michael. And if you guys like Michael, make sure you're following us on Twitter. We'll hear from Michael here as soon as the show's over, giving us a shout out for the good show. So thank you, Michael, in advance. If you guys are on Twitter, though, follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you guys are following us at BFB_pod. Broncos for breakfast. There it is. And of course, at Mile High Huddle as well. If you're joining us on Facebook, join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says here underneath, please subscribe, like, and share. Shout out to everybody who came in with the stars and support today. Obviously, Michael Ronquillo, big time. We had Gary Palmer in the house. Shout out to you, Gary. Hope you're doing well. Shout out also, of course, to Mark Schrader, doing better after 8 months, open heart surgery. That's incredible. We really do appreciate you sticking around and hanging out with us, Mark. But just great to hear that you are on the up and up, and maybe as healthy as ever. We're really glad to hear that. Troy Bauer also in the house. Good to see you. Scott, were there any Facebook superstars that I'm missing here?
Miguel came in. Michael, yes, obviously. Didn't see Phil this morning. Phil's usually in here, but in here all the time. Lawrence came in with some stars too. So the usual faces who support the show, and we love you for it. So thank you so much.
Nick playing time cop lately. Nick's been busy at work and he has to get going. So that's the big one here. Nick's also been trying to get in a workout in the morning because he's got about 200 miles of backpacking trips this year and doesn't want to get himself hurt. And Dirt Boy 6789. This is one we'll have to talk about at some point, especially with rookie minicamp. Broncos undrafted free agent from Penn State, defensive lineman PJ Mustipher, as somebody that there's been a little bit of talk about him coming out of rookie minicamp. Again, I'm very much a seen as believing person, especially for a defensive line, but there's an opportunity for snaps on this unit.
Yeah, that's the point. Who are you going against? We just read off the list of defensive linemen over 300 pounds, and it was DJ Jones. Mm-hmm. That was it. So you've got an opportunity. My goodness, take advantage of it for sure. And just to put a bow on this, and Ben was asking, on the Cushenberry, he says, who do you think is an upgrade that we have? No one. That's what I said. It's not Lloyd Cushenberry's fault that he's not good enough. That's not his fault. That's the Denver Broncos' fault. They didn't, like I said, they didn't try very hard to replace him, which might speak volumes. But you got a 7th-round draft pick and I don't know if they picked him up or they didn't trade anything for him, but and Kyle Fuller, who's never been a starter in this league, that's his competition. That scares me at the center position because we know what we've got in Lloyd Cushenberry. The unknowns don't have very good pedigrees. So you've asked me before, and I said at the top of the show, Lloyd Cushenberry is your starting center until someone else comes in and takes it from him, which I don't think is on the roster right now.
Nope, that's probably the position you'll see some turnover next year. And we'll also see a little turnover with maybe left tackle as well. So Garrett Bowles' contract, if he doesn't play well, he was not good last season. So that's something to keep an eye on. But guys, it's going to wrap it on up for our show. Appreciate everyone coming in. Shout out to Dirt Boy coming in last minute with that 199 PJ Mustafa call out. And you guys have a great one. Make sure you're continuing to choose kindness and compassion. We will see you again next Monday for the final Monday show of this season's cycle. And until then, have a great weekend. Choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.